15-year-old student, Wandalise Barrios, and her mother, social worker Maria Barrios, are suing Wandalise's boyfriend, 18-year-old Eric Rivera, and his mother, business owner Miriam Rivera. Maria says Miriam ran her off the road and vandalized her car.
Miss Barrios, is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. And is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
You sit down. Miss Barrios, it's your claim that Mrs. Rivera vandalized your car with you in it. Is that right?
That's correct.
And Miss Rivera says that she was angry, but she did not, in fact, damage your car at all. Now, what I gather is that your daughter was dating her son.
Correct.
These two.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And it's your claim that Mrs. Rivera didn't like the idea of her son dating your daughter. Is that true?
Yes,
by the
ma'am.
way? You weren't happy with this relationship? Correct. So why don't you tell me what happened on the day that your car was allegedly vandalized?
On July 3rd, her son called my daughter, and they wanted to meet us in the fireworks.
Okay, so it was July 4th weekend, there were fireworks.
On the 3rd,
and
yes.
Did he come to your house, or did you pick him up?
And we'd meet him in the fireworks in Altamont.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
You met where, at a park or something where they were having fireworks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You watched the fireworks, and then you were ready to go home?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Good. Now tell me what happened.
Okay, when we dropped him off in his house, and the defendant, she drove in front of my car, and she started yelling, threatening, and she tried to break my window, and her son came up and went right there in front of us.
Just a second. She's in her car, you're in your car.
Correct.
Did she get out of her car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get out of your car?
No, Your Honor.
You stayed in your car, but she pulled up in front of you, cut you off?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And got out of her car. What about her son? Did he get out of the car?
We dropped him already. He was in his house.
Okay, so he came out of the house.
He ran out of the house, and he stepped between the defendant and I, right there by the window, because she tried to break the window with her
elbow. And you're sitting in the driver's seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Then what did she do?
And I did not respond to her request because the prior incident that I have with her, that she assaulted me. So I did not respond to her request. And
she wanted you to get out of the car?
Yes, that way she could fight me. So I did not get out of the car, and I told my daughter, let's leave here, because prior to that, she grabbed since I don't open the window, she grabbed my windshield wiper. She smashed it because she was really mad and broke it. And then with her both fists, she was really pissed and bumped my car. So at that time, I told my daughter, let's get out of here, let's report it. I went on reverse, I left the scene. She continued following me to my house. That's what I found out. I went to the police report, and I reported. And I put an injunction on Miss Rivera.
You have photographs of the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please? Are you two young people still dating each other or not?
Yes.
So I assume you don't want to be here?
No.
You don't want to be here?
No.
You don't want to be here. Is that right?
No.
Okay. Okay. Ready to hear you.
Well, the incident on actually the 3rd of the morning of the 4th of July happened all because my son and his girlfriend, Diana, was attending my child who's mentally handicapped and my daughter, which is 11 years old. This lady had the audacity to go out there and pick him up, left my two children alone with another 17-year-old child when he and her were supposed to watch my children, where my son walked away and got lost in the park where the fireworks were. And it was almost 2 in the morning by the time I was able to pick up my children from the park in the traffic. And when I got home, she was just dropping him off without no permission of mine, no knowledge where my son was. And I knew he was with her because his girlfriend, Diana.
That's not Diana.
No, that's not Diana.
He has 2 girlfriends.
Yes. And it might be 3, but right now 2. Anyway, when I got home, yes, I was very furious. Capable of, even if she would have got out of the car, I would have smacked her really good, because how a mother could leave a child who is mentally handicapped.
And just slap him.
Well, I did that.
Why just slap him? What are you slapping her for?
Because she's the adult. She should have left him where he was.
Just a second. You're not claiming she picked him up at your house.
No, she went behind my back as a parent and picked him up in the park.
How do you know that? That she went behind your back? How is she supposed to read your mind about what arrangements you had with your son?
Because she knew.
How does she know?
Because he told her.
Oh, baloney. But you're assuming that.
True.
You're assuming that.
True.
How tall are you?
6 foot,
6 feet. Healthy, right?
as far as I know.
How old are you?
18.
And an adult. And if he's 17, he was still 6 feet tall and very healthy.
Yes.
Right? Are you suggesting to me, Miss Rivera, that your son went to Miss Berrios and said, I'm supposed to be minding my 2 siblings, but I'm going to blow them off and leave them here by themselves. So could you please give me a ride home? Is that what you think he said to her? That's what you're assuming. Because you want to be mad at somebody instead of being mad at him, you're mad at her. What are you mad at her for?
Because it's not the first incident that this happens.
Put the blame where it's supposed to be. By the way, where were you July 3rd?
I was at my house
Why weren't you taking care of your children?
because he was old enough to do it. And he wanted to go to
You
Red
were
Hot
just
and
a second.
Boom.
He was old enough to do it because you thought he was responsible enough
Correct.
to do it. Clearly, he wasn't.
Well, I learned my lesson in that part.
So that was your error in judgment. You don't take that out on her car.
I did not touch her car, ma'am.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. There is no question in my mind that you broke the windshield wipers off her car and smashed down with your fist on her car, causing a dent. Absolutely no question in my mind. And I'm not going to put these 2 young people in a position of having to testify because it just seems unfair to have to do that. I don't know if this is the girlfriend you want to be with or one of your other 2. That's your business. By the way, he probably does have other girlfriends. You understand that?
Yes.
Let me see the estimates of the damage to the car. Do you work?
No, ma'am.
What do you do?
I'm a student.
I have 3 estimates, and the cheapest estimate to do the work is $1,321.89. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You know that they're still dating?
Yes.
You resigned yourself to that?
Actually, as long as he lives under my roof and I pay for his school, he had to abide by my laws.
Which is?
They want to see themselves, they could see themselves out of her house. I don't want him in her house because they're in illegal activities. And if he's in her house and there is a bus in her house and my son is put in jail for something that he haven't done, I'm going to hold her responsible for my
Why
son's
don't you hold
liberty.
him responsible? He's 18 years old. He's 6 feet 1. You think that she can keep him out of her house?
Yes, she don't have to open the door.
Miss Rivera, you rely on him a lot?
Yes, I do.
I assume that you did rely on him a lot.
Yes, I'm a single parent. I raised them by myself.
You got to corral him. If you can't do it, don't expect other people to do it. If he doesn't follow your directions, and what you're saying is as long as he's living under my roof, breathing the air that I pay for, turning on the electricity that I pay for, eating the food that I pay for, then go out, get yourself a job, live on your own. You can do whatever you want to do.
That's right.
Your problem is that he is of help to you in the house taking care of your 13-year-old son.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,321.89.
That's case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of King versus Collier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss King, according to what I've read, the defendant was your former boyfriend. First, you say about a little more than a year ago, he had an accident with your car, which you paid for, which he said he would take care of. Then you claim to have expended a certain amount of money for remodeling of a condo that he had purchased, also with the agreement that he would pay you back. When you broke up, somehow you got him to sign a promissory note for all this money, for I think $3,200. Mr. Collier says the following. He said that you caused the accident to the car yourself, that he never borrowed any money from you, that the remodeling that you did to the condo, which had belonged to his uncle, was your own choice. The only reason he says that he signed this promissory note was that you were holding some money of his that you had gotten your hands on. You told him you wouldn't give him the money unless he signed the note. So he signed the note under duress. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
When was this accident with the car?
It was back in July of 2001.
And tell me about the accident with the car.
We were leaving a parking garage in Ybor City, and we were looking for the ticket that you give the attendant whenever you leave, and we couldn't find it, and we had pulled in already, so he went to back up, and as he backed up, he tore the whole bumper off the front of the car.
So it's the bumper that you're talking about?
Correct.
Do you remember that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember it that way, though.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Okay. So do you have insurance?
Yes.
So did the insurance cover the damage?
No, my deductible was $500, and it only cost $335.
Okay. Did you agree to pay that?
I never agreed to pay that, Your Honor.
So give me your version of the events. You are driving, the bumper comes off the car. How did the bumper come off the car?
I actually wasn't driving. We had gone to the
You
parking...
just told me you were driving.
Oh, I was in the driver's seat. We had just backed out of the parking garage spot that I was in, that she had parked in.
Yeah.
And the angle that I pulled back, that, you know, having no idea how she had left the wheel cocked, it caught on the edge of the wall and it ripped her bumper off.
The wall didn't move, sir. The car moved.
I agree, Your Honor.
Good. Okay. So that's $335. Did you ever say that you would pay to have that bumper repaired?
No, Your Honor. The reason I agreed or told her I wouldn't pay her back for that is the fact
Would
that...
or would not?
Would not. Is because she was drunk. Too drunk to drive, asked me to drive, handed me the keys, and that's the only reason I was driving. I was trying to do her a favor.
Is it true that you gave him the keys to the car because you had been drinking?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Don't drink. What's next?
I had loaned him, actually first he started living with me and he agreed that he would pay a third of the rent and a third of the utility bills.
For how many months?
Just for 1 month.
And what's the rent?
It was $800 and we divided it and he would have paid $266 for the rent and it was $74 for a third of the utility bills. And he also borrowed money to pay his car payments and he borrowed money to pay his cell phone bills.
What was his car payment?
I don't have that written down exactly.
$158.73, Your Honor.
And I paid it quite a few times. And I probably have paid it more times than I had even...
I can't keep track of that. But what kind of a way is that to have a loan, madam?
Because I was dating him, and that's things that you do.
And then finally, we have the stuff for the apartment. Let's hear about the stuff for the apartment.
It was for a condo that his uncle owned, and we had agreed that he would move in. I was still living with my roommate, so I couldn't move out at the time. And I said that we agreed that whenever time came that my lease would be up, that I would buy the place from his uncle, and that's why I would do the remodeling, and that he would also pay for that.
That you would buy the place from his uncle?
Mm-hmm.
You?
Yes, later.
You, not the two of you, you would buy the place for his uncle, so you were going to remodel it for when you bought it?
Correct.
Had you discussed that with his uncle?
No.
Just with him?
Just with him.
Well, what made you think his uncle wanted to sell it?
He discussed him buying it from his uncle.
He owned or leased it to me, Your Honor. So he was selling it to me.
And you discussed selling it to her?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor, yes.
And that's why she decided to remodel it. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
And then you decided not to sell it to her. Is that right?
No, she left, Your Honor.
Or she left. Whatever. Listen, I'm telling you this, Miss King. I'm unimpressed with all of these loans that you claim. Without a promissory note, the one that you say you have,
yes, I do, Your
you
Honor.
wouldn't get any money. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you remodel this place in anticipation of you purchasing it, so you were really remodeling it for yourself, there was no loan to him of that money. You remodeled it because you were going to live there. That was your foolishness. You don't remodel a place until the title of it is in your name.
Correct.
You want to do it fast? You do it fast. That's your problem. So now I'm going to take a look at the promissory note. Okay, so I have a promissory note for $3,200, sir, that you signed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, let me hear the circumstances surrounding you signing this promissory note.
She left on the 4th, and when she left, she had some cash in my
4th of?
March. When she did so, she didn't realize, I think, that she had some cash with her that I needed for my mortgage payment due on the 7th.
Mortgage for what?
To my uncle. To,
You mean your rent?
well, he's taking it off the principal, so he's holding the note for me. But the mortgage payment was due on the 7th, and on the 4th, she left with my cash. I couldn't raise the $350.
How did she get your cash?
I was having her hold it for me. I think we were going to deposit
Could
in
you
the bank.
speak slowly, sir? I can't follow
sorry.
you. I'm old.
Yes, Your Honor. She had my cash with her because she was holding it for me so that I would not spend it.
How much cash was she holding?
$350.
Okay, go ahead.
And on the 8th, a day after my mortgage was late, she agreed to go ahead and give me the cash, but only if I would sign the promissory note. Since I know their means of getting the cash that quickly, I went ahead and signed the note.
Did you have his money?
Yes, Your Honor. He had been staying at my place and left it.
And so you took the money and said, you want your money back? Is that right?
Well, it was in my...
No, you want your money back, you're going to sign this note.
Correct, Your Honor.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
That's duress. You can't do that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
She wants
Sherry King says her ex-boyfriend, Keith Collier, owes for damage to her car and unpaid loans. Keith says he owes her nothing.
As I said to you before, Miss King, but for the promissory note, I would find that there was never a loan made. With regard to the automobile, you were drunk, which is the reason he drove. He's backing out of a spot, not purposefully.
He wasn't backing out of a spot. He was backing out of the actual toll booth that he had pulled into. I did not pull into there, Your Honor.
Whatever it was. But for the fact that the two of you had broken up, there's not a question in my mind that we would not be here over this bumper damage to the car. When you drive a car, you drive someplace, you go out, you're not supposed to get drunk so you can't drive at home. Okay? I don't know how much he had been drinking that evening, whether he had been drinking more than you or less than you. I assume that he had been drinking some too, which means that you're both stupid. Then we come to the bills. Bills that you say, well, he said he would pay me some rent, and then I paid for his car payment. I paid a lot of times. I paid his car payment more than once. I'm not sure about how many times. I don't get involved with that. This is a court. You're supposed to say, on September 1st, 1999, I paid a car payment. On September 16th, the year 2000, I made a car payment for him. I have that all written down here. This is his car payment. He asked me to please advance it, and if I would, he would pay me back in a month. That's not what this is all about. This is about a boyfriend and girlfriend situation where you give him money. I don't know whether he ever gave you money.
No, Your Honor.
Probably not. Well, that means that you're not too... Right? The only thing that you thought that you did that was clever was having him do the promissory note for all this money that you thought he owed you. The only problem is you forced him to sign it. You were withholding his property. And if you withheld his property and said, unless you sign this note, I'm not going to give you the property, that is duress. So you get zippo, nada, nothing. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just hopefully no one will ever have to deal with him the way I had to deal with him.
I'm glad to see that justice was served.
Because he's a loser and he will scam anyone out of anything.
I feel bad that Ms. King feels like she was ripped off and misled by me.
Every week he would say that he would pay me the money, and then he would say, oh, I spent it on this or I spent it on that, and never came through with it.
I'm sorry that I had to come to a court battle. She could have settled it outside very easily.
Don't give money to anyone unless you have anything signed, and don't deal with idiot con artists like that.
Worked out pretty well for me, didn't it?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Berrios versus Rivera, step forward, please. Yeah, this is case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of Wells versus Howells. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Wells, according to what I've read, sir, you and the defendant had a glorious 11-year relationship. Sometimes on, sometimes off. Now it's off. It's over. But about 2 years ago, when it was over, it is your claim that Miss Howells, while you were incarcerated on some kind of domestic dispute, she stole all of your personal property. So that's the first part of your lawsuit, that you want your personal property from 2 years ago.
Yes.
Then, more recently, in 2002, you got back together again. And you claim that you proposed marriage, and you gave her a ring. And then a month or so later, the relationship ended for good, so you want the ring back.
Yes.
Miss Howells says that she deserves the ring. She doesn't even address the stuff, but she says she deserves the ring after 11 years of being with you. And she's counterclaiming because she says in November, which is the date of the final breakup, that you assaulted her, and she wants to be compensated for her pain and suffering, whatever medical bill she has. So I'm not going to get into what you say Miss Howells took 2 years ago, and I'm going to tell you why, sir. Have you been incarcerated for the last 2 years?
No.
Then would you like to tell me why you did not pursue this matter for 2 years?
Well, Your Honor.
I know who I am, so just tell me why.
The reason why is because we have been together and on and off so many times that I've lost count, and these things that I want are things that I bought with my own money. I've paid Ms. Howells numerous amounts of cash and dining and trips to Mexico, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and I've been slapped in the face, and I'd like to have my things back.
Well, you should have been more vigilant, Mr. Wells. Courts set up to deal with divorces. They're not set up to deal with almost marrieds, almost togethers, 11-year relationships that don't pan out. You had 2 years in which to act, you didn't. But I'm going to get to the ring for a second. Where's the ring, Miss Howells?
The ring, I returned to Costco in Medford, Oregon, and gave them a picture of the attack of my right arm, and they returned the money to me.
How much money did they return?
$1,099.
That's what you owe him, $1,099. Is that what you paid for the ring, Mr. Wells?
Yes.
An engagement ring is given in anticipation of getting married. You didn't get married, you don't keep the ring or the value thereof because you returned the ring. You don't keep the cash because you feel as if you deserve it. You don't. If you're foolish enough to live with somebody who abuses you and who makes your life miserable, that's your problem. You don't get to keep the ring. So you get $1,099, sir, on your complaint.
Okay.
Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. I want you to tell me what happened in November when you claimed that Mr. Wells assaulted you.
Okay, Mr. Wells and I, being he was having some behavior problems, I was going to drive us to a Christian marriage counseling. It was a 2-day seminar. We tried to find the place where it was going to take place and could not find it. So we decided to just go to dinner and, and forget about it. So we went to dinner, had a couple drinks, and then on the way home, we stopped at this nightclub. It's a steakhouse nightclub. He started verbally accusing me things of looking at some guy in the bar and things like that, starting a fight. And I was having a good time. And anyway, so we get to my home, and it escalated. So we get out of the car, go in the house, and he all of a sudden just turned into a totally different person and told me that, called me some names, and then he told me he was going to kick that TV in, the big screen TV, and he was going to slap me in my face, and he was going to walk out the door and get a taxi and go home. Well, he didn't have any money. So he grabbed my phone and proceeded out the door with it. I said, "Give me my phone back." Anyway, he slammed it down on the cement. I said, "Scott, calm down." He came back inside my home, and he just was out of control. I said, "I will give you the money to take a taxi, if that's your big, thing." I go, "Why can't you just get along with me and we can just, work this out? Why do you have to be like this?" And anyway, he grabbed my purse at one time, ran to the door, and then I ran after him and got my purse away because I had some money in it. We kind of backed up. I kind of backed to my kitchen counter, and something in my heart told me I just better make it to the door and scream because of the way he was carrying on and going out of his mind. And anyway, so I ran to the door, got the door open. I opened the door with my right hand, and and I got to scream out for help, and he immediately grabbed my right arm. It's really hard, and he covered up my mouth, dragged me to my office. It's a second bedroom I use for my office. He dragged me in there and told me the police are going to come, and how much he loved me, and he just carried on, please, tell him I left, because actually when he grabbed me on my arm and grabbed me around my face, I thought he was going to kill me.
Okay, so he grabbed you by the arm, put his hands across your mouth and said, "Please don't scream because the police are going to come.
Yes.
Tell them I'm not here."
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, so then the police came, and anyway, he hid in my closet, and they pulled him out of the closet, but he had put something in one of my shoes.
What did he put in one of your shoes?
I have the police report, Your Honor.
What did he put in your shoe?
Meth, drugs.
Drugs. So who was arrested?
He was arrested.
What about
I
you?
didn't press charges.
What about you?
No, I went in and did a urinalysis in my bathroom. They gave me the cup, and I'm clean.
What about him?
No, they took him to jail.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not a drug user.
So this was an isolated instance?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right.
And later today,
Your Honor, she knew I was going in the hallway.
That doesn't mean anything if she knew you were going in the hallway, Miss Davis.
Yes, Your Honor. This is how it was.
No, it wasn't. Stop making it up as you're going along.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charles Scott Wells says ex-fiancée Linda Howells owes for the return of property and an engagement ring. Linda says he bought the ring at Costco and she returned it.
All right, Mr. Wells, let's hear your version of the events of the 3rd of November, 2002.
Well, I call this the abuse of the legal system, and here's why. Ms. Howells had made a statement to her neighbor, if I'm murdered, then it's my boyfriend who did it. Well, that was early in the afternoon. Miss Howells picks me up that evening, takes me out to dinner, takes me back to her house, goes outside, screams, help. I get arrested. That's the short version of it. I mean, that's just one incident. And I've got proof right here.
I'd like to see it.
Also, Miss Howells is sue crazy. She's got 7 lawsuits going. Here's one that's just recent, a whiplash case. That
Shh, I'm not interested in a whiplash case. Let me see proof, sir.
This from here in the second page.
Why were you hiding in the closet?
The reason I was hiding in the closet is because of an incident that happened 2 years ago that was similar to this, where she had called the police, had me arrested, said that I had threatened her. I went to jail, and that's when I lost my belongings out of my house.
So is that why you were hiding? What about the drugs?
The drugs, I don't do drugs now as isolated incidents.
Just a second. What were the drugs doing in her shoe?
I had put them there.
Why?
Because when Miss Howells opened the door for the police, she said, he's hiding in the closet.
Well, what were you doing walking around with the drugs?
I was on my way.
Methamphetamine. What were you doing walking around with?
It was a foolish mistake, Your Honor. I mean, it was something I am very embarrassed about.
What did you plan to do with it, sir?
Pardon?
I mean, were you going to frame it?
I was going to snort it.
Had you snorted any of it before?
In the past?
Yes.
No, I'm not a drug user. It's
so this was an isolated instance?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right. Were you given a urine test when you got to the precinct?
Yes.
Is it negative or positive?
I'm not sure what the results were.
Really? All right. Let me see your injuries, please.
Okay. And here's a copy of the police report, what happened. And then there's that on my arm. And then the incident of, it was actually a year prior, November 23rd, 2001.
I'm not interested in what happened the year before. I'm not interested in his property that happened the year before. I'm not interested.
Okay.
Oh, this is a bad bruise.
Very bad. And I had a 5-hour shoulder surgery in 1997 on my shoulder.
Oh, please. I'm not interested in the year of the flood, madam.
And, Your Honor,
well,
there was no...
No, Your Honor, it caused me paralysis, his grabbing me.
Okay, right now you look just fine, but he gave you a nasty bruise.
There was no report of that when the incident happened with the police. This is all
fabricated. Because I didn't press charges. I tried to protect you.
You admitted to the police, sir, that you last snorted the meth earlier that evening.
Yes, I did. Your Honor, I went down the wrong path there. And
fine, well then what you did, sir, you went down the wrong path, and what happened is...
But the drugs have not...
No, listen to me. You went down the wrong path, sir, and what happened when you go down the wrong path and you snort drugs earlier in the evening, your behavior changes. Mm-hmm. Even your memory of events change. Because what you told me happened was that she set you up that night.
She did.
That she came to take you to dinner, and she drove you home to her house, and then she ran outside and screamed for the police so that she could have you arrested. If that's really what you think, I feel sorry for you. If that's what you want me to believe, I feel sorry for me. Because it's not what happened, sir.
Well, Your Honor,
what happened is you got into an argument with her. You were behaving irrationally. You were a little bit sweaty. I don't know what your circumstance is as we stand here today, and I'm certainly not going to ask you. But I will tell you that night, you were acting a little bit irrationally. She went outside and screamed for somebody to call the police. And you got busted, and you got busted for either a disturbance at her home and or the drug possession. You probably pled guilty to the drug possession. Is that a fair statement?
Well, Miss Howells was arrested for marijuana that evening.
Did you?
She was partying with me.
Did you plead guilty to the drug possession?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So that's over.
Yeah.
So that part
I haven't tried
that part is over with. As part of what happened in the course of that evening, sir, you bruised her very badly. Because you didn't want to get... Oh, yeah, you did.
That picture could be from anything. If she was injured, wouldn't she have told the police that night when I was arrested?
A black and blue mark like that doesn't come out 2 seconds later. It comes out, that's what happened. You grabbed her inside. You mean you didn't punch her? She didn't say, he punched me, he kicked me in the back, he threatened to stab me. He said you grabbed her by the arm, which you did, in order to take her inside to shut her up. You were acting irrationally. I don't think that she was seriously injured that night. I don't believe that. But I believe she was injured sufficiently enough to cost you $1,099, which is the cost of the engagement ring. So your claim is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Robert Carrigan is suing his sister, Deborah Carrigan and her daughter Rachel Lopez for rent, utility bills, and the value of a Glock handgun.
Order. All rise. Yeah, that's case number 499 on the calendar in the matter of Carrigan versus Carrigan.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Carrigan, the defendant is your sister.
Yes,
Which one is the sister?
this one.
Who are you?
I'm her daughter.
Sit down. There came a time when you and your sister were living together in a house. Month and year that you moved in together in this house.
It was September of 2007.
Okay. Now, prior to that, according to you, Mr. Carrigan, you had purchased a handgun from your sister for $250. Then there came a time, subsequent to September of 2007, you're going to tell me the date, that you and the defendant had an altercation in the house. Police were called. Police confiscated the gun.
Yes.
Your sister says it's her gun. You say it's your gun. You paid for it. She was supposed to change the registration, sort of never got around to it. So the first thing I'm going to deal with is this gun. When did you purchase it?
I went up to Vancouver, Washington, and visited her.
Just give me a date.
Probably in November of '05.
And you had the gun unregistered since November of '05.
Yes.
And the police now have it.
Yes.
That's too bad. Right?
Yeah.
Perfect. You don't expect to get help from me in that area, do you?
Not at all.
So you don't get your money back and you don't get the gun back. Somebody gives you a handgun. This is not a little teeny handgun. This is a serious handgun. According to you, it's a Glock?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in 4 years' time that you have it, it should have been registered. And the fact that it wasn't registered, you get no help from me. So the police now have the gun?
Yeah.
Perfect. It's where it belongs.
She was living out of state. I went up to see her.
I don't care.
Yeah. Okay.
You're a grown man. In your jurisdiction, is the gun supposed to be registered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she had asked me to take the gun because
I don't care. I don't care what the reason is. You live in a jurisdiction where you're supposed to register handguns. You had the gun for 4 years, unregistered. You don't come to court to ask them to help to get your gun back.
Yeah.
That was your responsibility. All right. So that takes care of gun over. Now, let's take care of rent. You moved out in November.
Yes, ma'am. We moved out because of the escalation of violence that he was displaying.
You didn't want to live there anymore. You moved out in November.
Thanksgiving Day.
And you paid rent for November.
Yes, ma'am.
What rent do you want?
Well, our agreement was that we would give each other a 60-day notice.
When did you make that agreement?
When we moved in. And
is that right?
First it was 90 days, then it was 60 days, then it went back to 90, then it went back to 60. He kept changing it. So it was difficult to determine.
Is it at least 30?
Yes. We had notified him in September that we would be moving out within the next couple months.
That's not true.
Well, tell me when that conversation took place, Ms. Carrigan.
I don't remember exactly what date, but it became very apparent in September that we had to move on.
When did you tell your brother that you were, in fact, moving out? In September, it became apparent. Apparent
Yes.
is not a contract.
Well, I told him in September we're moving out within the next couple of months.
No, she
That's
didn't.
not an answer.
And
No, that's no, Ms. Corrigan. That's not giving him notice that you're moving out within the next couple of months.
2 weeks before the incident where I had to call the police, I told them, him and his wife, that if there are any further incidents of violence or display of rage, that we would move out immediately.
Okay. So describe to me what happened on the 26th of November.
It was actually the Sunday before that we decided that we had to get out immediately.
Well, tell me what happened, because that's germane, because otherwise you are responsible for December's rent.
He and his wife were asking me what day I was moving out. I didn't know exactly what day I was moving out, so I was unable to answer their question.
Just a second. They said to you, what day are you moving out, and you answered what?
I said, I don't know. I'll know in the next few days. That was my answer.
Okay, I don't know. I'll know in the next few days.
Yes.
Did you tell them what month you would be moving out?
I did not.
Why not?
Because I didn't know exactly what day I was going to be moving out.
I didn't say day, Miss Corrigan. If you said, I don't know what day, but I'll be moving out in November, or I'll be moving out in December, that at least gives them some indication of when they have to start to look for someone else to take over part of the rent, if they need somebody else to take over part of the rent, because I assume you were there because you were paying rent.
Yes, we were
So
paying
why didn't
rent.
you tell them, I'm moving out in November? I don't know
I was
what date.
upset, and I didn't want
That's
to go
right.
into...
That's right. So you didn't give him an answer.
Correct.
So you didn't give him an answer.
I didn't give him an answer that
you
he
didn't
wanted.
Give him no, you didn't give him an answer because you were upset.
I was feeling cornered because in
All right, Ms.
several occasions before that...
I don't care before that. He and his wife said to you, when are you moving out? Just give me a date. And you said, I can't give you a date because I don't know now. When you, in fact, knew you were moving out in November. So you chose not to do that. Go ahead. I'm listening.
So he didn't like that I wasn't going to give him a specific date because I didn't know.
Just tell me what he said to you and what you said to him. Not that he didn't like. I don't want to hear he didn't like.
Okay. He was getting upset, more and more upset. And I said, you know, this is not a time to continue this conversation. I'm going to go into my room.
What did he say to you?
I don't remember exactly what he was saying to me.
I just was asking her when she was going to move out.
Well, he was yelling at me.
Don't speak. You were asking her when she was moving out. She said to you, I don't know when I'm moving out. I can't give you a date. Then you said to her what?
I said, well, we need to know so we can make arrangements ourselves.
Okay, and she said to you what?
I don't have to answer you. I don't have to talk to you.
And then?
And then she went into her room and shut the door.
And then?
That's when I took the picture and broke the picture.
So you took a picture.
Out of pure frustration.
And you broke it.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's part of what she's suing for. So that you know you're responsible for.
I don't feel like I am.
Well, listen, you want to talk about your feelings, go someplace else. I don't care about your feelings.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Carrigan says his sister Deborah Carrigan and her daughter Rachel Lopez owe for rent, bills, and the value of a gun. The defendants are countersuing for the return of their security deposit and destruction of property.
Okay, then what happened?
That's when I called the landlord and gave him a 30-day notice. But I had called him on November 1st and given him a 60-day notice because I'd been home from the hospital a couple weeks and I figured I'd be well enough to move by January.
What was wrong with you?
I had open heart surgery on October 8th.
So you gave the landlord 30 days notice?
Yeah, I gave him a 60-day notice on the 1st of November, and then they started giving me problems about paying the utility bills.
They had paid you for November?
No, they never paid me for the November bills.
Your Honor, we weren't giving him problems about paying the bills. I wanted to see copies of the bills.
Just 1 second. So do you have those bills?
Yeah.
Can I see them, please? And then I'll show them to her.
Here you go. I have this broke
What is
down.
this?
That's for getting the carpets cleaned after we moved out.
We had cleaned the carpets 3 months before we moved out.
But we had 3 dogs that...
I don't care whether, just, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Would you show her the bills, please?
We had also...
Shh. Those are the bills. Look at them. What is her share of the utilities?
It came to $299.34.
And what was her share of the rent for December?
The rent is $330 each for them.
Are you suing her?
Yes.
Stand up. Did you pay your rent for December?
No, we did not live there in December.
You don't have to live there in December. Mother had an agreement. Did you have an agreement to give him notice too?
In September, we gave them notice saying that we would be gone.
No, she didn't.
No, you didn't. I find that you did not. I find that the statement, "we'll be moving out within a couple of months," is not giving them notice. So far, you owe him $959. That's for your share of the utilities and December's rent for the two of you.
Hey, he also...
Now, you have a counterclaim. Your
Yes.
counterclaim is for the value of the picture.
Yes.
That he owes you. How much
Yes.
was the photograph?
I went and had an estimate done, what it would cost to restore this picture.
And reframe it.
And the estimate just for the picture is $269.38.
Let me see it, please.
And then I have 3 different price ranges of frames ranging from like $35 to $80 to replace the frame.
Can I see the photograph, please? Oh, it's a great picture. Okay. We have to pay for that, sir. All right. Your counterclaim was for the value of the picture and the return of your security deposit. You had a security deposit of $900?
That is correct.
And he had a security deposit of $900. And you moved out when?
On December 23rd.
How much did you get back from the landlord?
We didn't get anything back because there was a redwood.
Just a second. I just want to know if you got anything back.
No.
Do you have a statement from the landlord that indicates that you're not getting anything back?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here it is.
How many dogs did you have?
I have 2 dogs.
What kind?
I have a Labrador Retriever and then a mix. He's about 30 pounds.
And you?
I have an Australian Shepherd.
This is excessive traffic and chewing of the redwood railings.
It was his dog that did the chewing.
Okay, very good. You don't get your security deposit back. It costs more than that to fix that and to clean the carpets, according to the bills that are there. Okay. Your sister owes you $659. I have given you credit for the photograph restoration and framing. Clear?
Yes.
That's all. Step out.
All right, is that excused? You may step out.
He was displaying escalating fits of violence.
It was actually pure frustration at the fact that she wouldn't give me a straight answer.
We had to get out of there.
I do not consider him family anymore.
I'm done with him.
It's over.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of loss versus loss, step forward, please.
Deborah Loss is suing her son, 25-year-old Michael Loss, for loans to pay off debt and to make his car insurance payments.
This is your son.
Yes,
How many children do you have, Mrs. Loss?
I have 2.
How old is this one?
He's 25.
And your other one?
29.
Does your 29-year-old live at home?
No, he's
On his
married.
own?
Yes.
Married on his own.
Yes, 2 children.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Loss?
I'm a manager of a restaurant.
For how long?
Going on 3.5 years.
Why does your mother take care of your son?
Why? Mostly because she chooses to. I mean, he wants to go and spend time with her and she enjoys it. I mean,
What I'm asking you is how come he doesn't live with you?
well, he does. I mean, it's a back and forth, you know what I mean? Like, he stays with me and then he'll go there sometimes on the weekend whenever she's out of school. And
Who takes care of him when you're at the restaurant?
my girlfriend.
Is that right?
Or my mother.
And where is the child's mother?
She's at home.
So you live with the child's mother,
Yes.
but your mother takes care of him a good deal of the time.
Yes.
You advanced your son some money on condition that he would pay you back.
Yes.
I believe that was for insurance.
Yes.
How much did you advance him?
I paid a total of $1,344.
Was this car insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Did your mother pay for your car insurance for you?
Yes, she did.
That's what you seem to indicate in your answer, that you did in fact borrow this money from your mother, but you don't have to return it because she lost an inheritance that was rightfully yours.
Yes.
All right. When you initially borrowed this money from your mother, did you ever tell her that you would pay her the money back?
Yes, I did.
When did you tell her that you would pay her the money back?
I told her that I would give her money at the beginning of every month.
For the insurance?
Yes.
When did you change your mind?
I decided that I needed this money that she had lost during her bankruptcy, and I didn't feel that I should be entitled to pay it back.
Mrs. Loss?
Yes.
How often does your grandson stay with you?
He stays with me just about every weekend, sometimes a couple days during the week, quite often.
So you enjoy having your grandson around?
I love it.
Good. Okay, tell me about this inheritance, sir.
Okay, it was actually through my grandmother. She gave this money to my mother, and my mother had it in her name. And it was, I'm not exactly sure the exact amount. I think it was around about a 12 to 13,000, which was supposed to be split evenly for tuition for school between me and my brother, which my grandmother had explained to me.
How long ago was this?
It was probably 9 years ago, maybe 8, I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
And that's just basically all that I really ever knew about it. And then my mother had to file bankruptcy due to her last marriage. And it was like a down spiral for her as far as she had to go into debt. Well, during that bankruptcy, she lost everything. She lost all the tuition money for me and my brother, her van, and a few other things. Mm-hmm. And it upset me, you know what I mean? Because I was planning on going to college. But as of right now, I've got a son, and I've been trying to work to do better. But
Who did you live with when you were growing up?
my mother.
Did she work?
Yes, she did.
What kind of work did she do?
She was a school teacher, and plus she even worked a second-time job after she got out of school.
Is there any particular reason why her finances became difficult?
due to her ex-husband's medical condition.
What was the nature of his medical condition?
He had epilepsy and had a bunch of hospital bills, which drove my mother into debt.
So there were medical bills that she was responsible for because he was her husband.
Right.
And?
Honestly, I don't think that she should have allowed for it to continue. And otherwise, I don't think I would have been had to have lost that tuition money. You know what I mean? That was I was entitled to.
Mr. Loss, if you had said to your mother a year and a half ago, I'd like you to pay for my insurance on my truck or my car because I really can't afford to pay it, and you really owe me that money anyway because I think, wrongly, I will tell you, but I think that since you lost Grandma's money that I was really supposed to have, you didn't lose it gambling or drinking. I mean, she was taking care of her responsibilities and at the same time taking care of her two sons. But if you had said that to her right up front, I would say, and if your mother continued to give you this money, then you would write. But that's not what happened, Mr. Loss. What happened was you said to your mother, I'll pay you each month. And then you said, well, I really shouldn't have to pay her back. Why shouldn't I have to pay her back? Well, maybe because the sky is blue, maybe because it's Tuesday, maybe because it's Friday. Maybe because 9 years ago she lost my grandmother's money that I was supposed to have. What if she didn't have money to feed you? Do you think she should have used Grandma's money? Of course. If your grandmother wanted you to have the money, sir, she would have put the money in trust for your first name?
Michael.
Michael Loss. And your brother?
He came to me asking for a loan of $1,500. The reason why I gave him the loan of $1,500 was that he had given me $400 of his stimulus check towards his insurance. So I felt, since he was trying to make an attempt to pay back some monies, that I would go ahead and take out the $1,500.
Did he say anything about using this inheritance money as a write-off?
No.
No. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
What'd you need the $1,500 for?
To catch up on my cell phone bill, and I had a power bill that was high too.
See what happens even though you work? Sometimes you work, you don't make enough money. Just like your mother. She worked, she was a school teacher according to you, had the second job, but then all of a sudden her husband got sick. She had hospital bills, so with best intentions and working very hard, she still couldn't deal with it. Right?
Right. That's correct, man.
Aren't you sorry you're here?
Am I sorry?
Yeah.
No.
You should be. $2,844. That's what you owe your mother and an apology. That's all. Step out.
John Carlos Felix, because she loaned him money to buy computer equipment and was never repaid.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 300 on the calendar in the matter of Levitt versus Felix. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Miss Levitt, your papers indicate that you were in a 5-year relationship with the defendant. That relationship produced a child, a son.
Yes.
And that during that 5-year relationship, you made loans to him well in excess of $5,000.
Yes.
Relationship terminated.
Yes.
You want your money.
Yes.
And you say?
That's not how it happened.
Tell me about it.
Well, we were in a relationship for about, I'd say, a year, over almost a year. And he had a computer portrait business, and he wanted to enhance his computer equipment. So he came to me and asked me for a loan. And so I said, well, okay, it's understood that it's a loan. And he said, yeah, any money that I ask of you, I want, it's going to be a loan. I'm going to pay it back. And I said, okay. So I made a record of it. I made a record of everything, you know, because it's a business loan. And so
take it out. Show me. First, show him.
No, I've seen it.
You've seen it? Okay.
This is all the checks and everything.
Go ahead.
And so during the course of our relationship, he paid me back some money, you know. And so he got a job like this year in July, and he's telling me that he gets paid like $4,000 a month. But yeah, he's not going to pay me back my money because, you know, I was stupid, I was gullible, I believed everything that he said to me. He used me. He took advantage of my kindness, and we were together for 5 years.
And you say?
We met maybe back in 91 or 92, you know. She came in to get insurance for me, and she's been calling me ever since. And then a week later, I decided to go out with her. And after a couple of months, it just didn't work out. Okay, I said, look, it's not gonna work out. You know, you just fresh off a relationship, you're insecure, you low self-esteem and everything. You know, just I don't want to go out with you. Okay, and she started crying. Okay, she's like she grabbed my legs. Okay, she's like, please don't leave me. I don't want to be alone. I don't want this. I don't want that. Okay, I said I'll stay with you, but nothing's gonna come out of it. Okay, it was just strictly sexual. You know, we'll go out. She even called me her booty call. She called me when she wants to have sex.
That's
okay?
not true, Your Honor.
Hey, that's how it was. You know, I mean, I'd go out, do my own thing. You know, go out with whoever I wanted. Okay, if I don't have anything better to do.
How chivalrous of you.
Well, I mean, that's what I pointed out. It's even on paper. You know, so it's like take it or leave it. Okay, I'm not gonna have a relationship with you. Okay.
All of that is, listen, that's a boy-girl thing. If she wants to accept a relationship under those conditions, that's fine.
That's what she
We're
accepted.
talking here about
I'm getting to that. I am getting to that. But in the meantime,
loans, your insurance, all these checks with your signature on the back of endorsements. So, car payment.
I never asked her to pay anything for me. Okay.
But just a second. Did you take it?
Yeah, she volunteered. Why not? You know? That's like she thought she had to do that. Okay, in order to keep me from leaving her. It's either pay stuff for me or send me dirty pictures, half-naked pictures, just
Put them
everything.
away. I don't want to see them.
You don't want to see? I've got them here. Anybody else?
No, just a second.
right.
Anybody else want to see it? Is that what you just said? Did you just say anybody else want to see it?
But the whole thing was a joke to me. You know, it's like things were not working out from day one, and she's like.
So why didn't you just say goodbye?
I have.
You're a big guy. You want to say goodbye to somebody, you could just say goodbye.
I went to Miami. I went to Orlando. She would track me down. I have letters she sent me to everywhere I go.
Well, so you understood Mr. Felix, right? That according to you, Miss Levitt was infatuated with you.
Yes.
And you felt that she was, according to you, insecure. Is that right, sir?
She still is.
A dependent personality.
Yes.
Is that a fair statement? Vulnerable because of that.
Maybe
Right?
you could see that. Sure.
And so you decided to go over and, according to you, for want of a better phrase that unfortunately doesn't come to my mind right now, service her occasionally.
Hey, whatever, that's what...
Just a second, Mr. Felix. Am I right? Service her occasionally and pick up a check.
Nah, it wasn't always like that.
Let's go back a second, Mr. Felix. You did service her.
Yes.
And you did pick up a check.
That's not service for a check. It wasn't like that.
I'm just saying, you did service her, and you did pick up a check or two, or 10.
Sure.
Or 20. Now, Mr. Felix, that's not very nice, sir. That doesn't say to me that you are a very nice person. Do you want me to explain it to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She got pregnant on purpose. That didn't work, okay? I'm not going to be with her no matter what she does.
And later today,
You made the car payments for her?
She borrowed money from her family that I helped repay.
My family will be very surprised to hear that there were payments made to them.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacqueline Levitt says the father of her child, John Carlos Felix, borrowed money to buy computer equipment, but never repaid her. He says the money was a gift.
Can I make this suggestion to you, sir? There will come a time when Miss Levitt will become so frustrated with the situation that if you don't take her to court, and I doubt that you will, because I doubt that you have this passion to see your child on a regular basis, but she will feel as if, as she should, that the child has a right to be supported by two parents. And that's what the law says. So she's going to take you to court. And under the law in many jurisdictions, she can take you to court seeking support from the date of the child's birth. Do you understand that? So I'm going to suggest, Mr. Felix, that from now on, when you make child support payments, you make them by check or money order made payable to her clearly endorsed child support. So should there ever be a question about how much money you have paid, it is memorialized in a writing. I give you that piece of legal advice, sir, and I give it to you for free. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Sherritt versus Liebenson. Step forward, please.
29-year-old Jill Charette says her ex-boyfriend, Brad Liebenson, agreed to make the payments on a Sea-Doo watercraft. Jill decided to sue after Brad missed several payments.
You were dating. He wanted a watercraft.
Yeah.
Something that you ride on the water.
Exactly.
Very California.
Yes, it is.
But he had no credit. So you got the watercraft, she got the bill, and then you broke up, leaving you with the bill and him with the watercraft.
Not quite true.
You don't have the watercraft?
Yes, I do.
You have the bill?
I did.
Did you pay for it?
Up to a certain point, that's correct.
How much?
$1,000.
And how much was the watercraft?
Approximately $4,000.
So that leaves $3,000.
That's correct.
Well, explain to me why you don't owe her the watercraft or the $3,000.
Well, in the statement that I did give, we had come upon an agreement to where after I paid for her to stay with me during the period of our relationship and the money that I spent, that the balance of the watercraft was to be left in me as repayment.
When did you come up with this idea?
During one of our last meetings, before she actually moved out.
You had this conversation with her that you remember vividly as you stand here before me today.
Yes.
How long did you live together?
4 years.
He says that you came up with this agreement with regard to the watercraft, that you lived with him. I assume he's going to tell me that he paid all the bills. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that therefore you had an understanding that he would pay for the first $1,000 of the watercraft. Does any of that sound familiar to you?
There was never any conversation like that at all. The only conversation in regards to the jet ski was that I was going to pay for it and he would make the monthly payments on it until it was paid off or until he could come up with the lump sum to pay it off. There was never any trade for this, trade for that. That was never discussed. That wasn't part of the agreement at all.
Mr. Liebenson, when you were together, tell me what kind of expenses you took care of, sir.
Rent, utilities, car payment, things like that.
For yourself and for the plaintiff?
That's correct.
She had her own car?
Yep.
And you made the car payments for her?
She borrowed money from her family that I helped repay.
Explain that to me.
She didn't have money for a car when she moved out here. She borrowed money from her family. I repaid most of that money.
How much money?
Approximately $3,000.
Can you show me how you repaid that money?
I made payments to them.
How?
By check and by giving money to Jill.
Well, let me see some checks.
I don't have them here. I wasn't able to obtain them. My bank keeps all that on microfilm.
They keep it on microfilm, but you can get copies of that, sir.
They weren't able to get them to me.
Does any of that sound familiar?
No, my family will be very surprised to hear that there were payments made to them for repayment of a car, which I paid every dime of.
Assuming, Mr. Liebenson, that I do not believe you, let's start with that premise, sir. Your answer, sir, says for the first year and a half that you were together, you paid for rent, bills, car repairs, and food. There isn't anything here about repaying a loan to her parents.
Maybe I
Nothing.
omitted that when writing my statement.
Well, these statements is 2 pages long, sir. That's a really big thing to omit, considering that it's the first thing that you mentioned to me today, and just happens to be in the same approximate amount of the water ski. And you go into great detail in your answer. Jill and I lived together for 4.5 years. During the last 6 to 8 months, I decided to purchase a personal watercraft.
That's correct.
Not the two of you. I decided. Although you say, due to my credit standing at that particular time, I was denied the loan. Jill offered to use her credit to obtain the loan. And then you say, after the separation, I discussed the fact that I had supported her during the first year or so, and we should offset that. So you go into great detail. Nothing about this loan that you paid, that you couldn't get from microfilm from your bank.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right, you got the watercraft?
That's right.
You got the bill. How much did you pay?
Altogether, a little over $5,000 with finance charges because it was a revolving line of credit. So there was finance charges that were accrued.
You're only suing for $3,200.
Yeah, basic blue book cost of the watercraft. It's basically the principle of the thing at this point.
Mm-hmm. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $3,200.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I was brought to court because somebody couldn't live up to their word.
I didn't have to live up to any word because I was telling the truth. There was no agreement ever made, so it had nothing to do with jealousy. I hope that he's happy and things are going great for him.
Guess wanted to try and teach me a lesson. Maybe she wasn't happy that I had already found somebody else.
I could care less. I wish him and her all the happiness. I just was tired of the lies and the abuse from his new girlfriend, and my, does she have a mouth on her? And I got tired of taking it. I tried to be reasonable and rational, but realized that I wasn't dealing with rational people.
Department Manager Zachary Thomas for assault.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 361 on the calendar in the matter of Castleberry versus Thomas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen.
I'll wait for you, sir. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You are the apartment manager.
Yes, ma'am.
In a complex where the plaintiff lives, correct?
No, he doesn't live there.
He doesn't, did he live there?
No.
He was just visiting there.
We were just visiting.
And you were there visiting a couple that you say you take care of.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And you claim he assaulted you.
That's correct.
You want to tell me how that came about?
Yes, ma'am. From point A to point Z, I was actually I was visiting Mr. Bob Miller here, and actually I went to the store for him, and I came back. While at the store, I met a young lady, asked me to give her a ride, you know, up the way towards where we live, where actually Bob lived. And
Where do you live?
I live in Emeryville. I used to live next door to Bob Miller for 11 and a half years before I moved.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And as with me and this, the young lady I gave a ride, you know, up to where Bob lived, we're sitting out in front of the apartment complex, and we're just sitting there talking. And you know, I acknowledged Zach was on the first level there, and Zach says, I spoke to him. How you doing, Zach? We never had a problem prior to this.
So you knew him from before?
Yes, ma'am. I've known him since I've lived there. I used to be the manager of the building adjacent to his. And so Zach came to the vehicle and says, "Hey, man, you know, what are you guys doing sitting in front of the apartment complex? Don't you know, people get shot for sitting in front of, the apartment complex." So Zach proceeded up the stairs, and I thought about what he said, and I told the young lady, I said, "Hey, well, let's go up, to Bob's apartment, right?"
To Bob's apartment?
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Bob Miller. And so we goes into the apartment and sitting down talking, conversating, and 45 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. And the door, and so I go and answer the door, and ask who is it? He says, Zach. So I open the door to see, yeah, Zach, what is it? And then he, proceeded to push the door in, forcefully push it. I said, man, you can't do this, man. That's not right. You're out of line. And he, pushed me into the partition there, and he grabbed a plant, and he tried to hit me over the head with the plant, but the vase that the plant was in fell, hit the ground, so therefore he was left holding dirt in his hand. And also, he struck me upside the head, and I received damages from that.
What kind of damages?
I have like a scar tissue under my temporal area here.
Did you go to the doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a doctor's
Yes, ma'am, I
bill
have.
report?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So, what happened?
Okay, on July the 2nd, I normally make my rounds of my building, making sure the building is safe, make sure that nobody is hanging out in front of the building. Then I observed Major Castleberry sitting inside this car. I don't know, he was smoking something, And,
What do you mean he was smoking something?
He was smoking something that I assume it was, like crack, because, he's a, abuser. And, and also, when they got out the car, the young lady got out and came to my building, and before she walked up the stairs, she had used the restroom right in front of my stairs.
You mean she just
used the restroom in front of my stairs.
You mean she urinated in front of your stairs?
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't use a restroom because it wasn't a restroom, it was the stairs.
It was the stairs, yes, ma'am. And
you saw this, sir?
Yes, ma'am. And this was around between 3:30 and 4 o'clock a.m. in the morning. Okay, and then when Major Castleberry proceeded up the stairs into the house, I didn't think nothing of it until he just opened up the door and just went in. And then,
so you were concerned that you didn't see him knock at the door or that you didn't see Bob let him in. He just opened the door and went in.
Right, he just, because he just opens the door and just walks in. I knocks on the door, he cracks the door. Then I observe that when he cracks the door, my concern is with Bob.
So what did you see when he opened the door crack, you mean?
I seen this naked woman standing up, getting her clothes off the floor.
Was that the same woman?
The same woman that he was in a car with.
Who you saw using your staircase as a bathroom?
Right.
Okay.
And then, as she was standing in the middle of the room floor naked, and then I said, I want to talk to Bob. And then he go tell me that you're not gonna talk to no one, and slam the door in my face. So I'm assuming that he just got upset because I disturbed whoever he about to do. When he slammed the door, I talked through the door. I said, I want to talk to Bob to make sure Bob know that you're in the house. Because I don't know if he let the door open for you, or I don't know that you just walked in. Because Bob always had people coming inside his house, drinking with him, and always leaving out with money of his after he passed out of drinking. I said, okay, if you want to open the door, I'll just go call the police, and then so I can see, is Bob okay?
So, did you do that?
Yes. And then the two couples came out, him and his girlfriend, came out the house, and they start arguing about 4 a.m. in the morning to top of their lungs. Then I was trying to come to them. I said, look, y'all can't be yelling in my building at 4 a.m. in the morning.
And where was this taking place, this yelling and screaming?
Right outside, because they had stepped outside.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You take her up to the apartment with Bob passed out on the couch.
Well, Bob was actually asleep,
He was in a deep sleep.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Major Castleberry is suing apartment manager Zachary Thomas for assault. Zachary claims Mr. Castleberry was causing problems in his building and was attempting to detain him until the police arrived.
This is outside the apartment, so how did he get hit in the head?
Okay, then, after I went to trying to calm them down, and then the door was already open, So I seen Bob laying down, face down, on the couch. So I went to the apartment to see was he okay. Major Castleberry came in and started shoving me, well, tried to shove me out the door. You know, I said, Major, you know, get your hands off me. Then he kept on shoving me, kept on shoving me, kept on shoving me. And then I wouldn't budge. So I detained him against the wall and said, Major, be still until the police come. Then I heard footsteps coming up the stairs or down the stairs. So anyway, I heard footsteps. Then when I turned and looked to see who was that, when I turned back around, he had hit me in, somewhere in the cheek area, you know. He had struck me first in the cheek area. And then he struggled trying to get it loose, started trying to get it loose. Then as he kept on trying to get it loose, trying to hit me still, kept on trying to swing, that's when I countered and hit him to calm him down. Then after I hit him, then he come
Why
right...
did you pin him, sir? Mr. Thomas, I understand what you're saying, and I understand that you felt as if you were protecting the tenant or trying to make sure that the tenant was okay in your building.
Right.
What I don't understand is, sir, once you saw the tenant in your building, who you know, according to you, drinks, and you saw him, according to you, sort of passed out on the couch, right?
No, I didn't know he was passed out.
You saw him face down on the couch.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you saw. So you knew he was okay.
No.
Or as okay as he has been other times when you've seen him if you said, you know, he drinks, right?
Right.
So why did you try to detain this man?
Because he was swinging on me.
No, he wasn't swinging on you, sir, until you went into the apartment.
When I first came to the apartment, knocked on the door, like I said before, and then he refused to let me speak to my tenant.
He doesn't have to let you speak to your tenant, sir. You know that. I mean, I'm not faulting you. I think you were trying to do your job. I don't think that there was anything malicious about your intent. I really don't. Except that because you had certain grounds to believe that the people who were going into that apartment were not wrapped too tight that evening. You know, you have a woman using a staircase as a bathroom.
That's a plain lie, Your Honor.
Mr. Castleberry?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing out sitting in the car 3:30 in the morning with this lady that you picked up at the store?
Obviously, Your Honor.
No. Look at my eyes, Mr. Castleberry.
Definitely. No
Mr.
problem.
Castleberry.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you met this lady when
Yes,
you were
ma'am.
going out to the store.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were going to the store to get what?
Well, I was going to the
Here,
store.
look here.
Oh, fine. I was going to the store for Bob to get him a bottle of liquor, actually.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were going to the liquor store, and at the liquor store you met this lady who needed a ride
Correct.
to where she lived.
Basically, no, ma'am, she just actually wanted to ride up the street. She didn't ask me to take her home. She just asked me, you know, basically the conversation went like, you know, can I hang with you, right? I said, well.
At the liquor store where you went.
No, this
You went to the liquor store.
This is not a liquor store. This is actually Walgreens, you know. And that's why I met the lady on the way out of the store. And she asked me.
So she asked you, the lady who you met coming out of Walgreens, said to you, can I hang with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Castleberry.
Yes, ma'am.
As much as I hate to admit it, sir, I wasn't born yesterday.
Okay, though. Well, that's the truth, Your Honor.
Now you, who I'm sure hadn't had anything to drink that night. Is that right?
I had some beers or what have you, but yet and still I wasn't.
What's the what have you?
Some beers.
It's a what have you that I'm interested in.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I had beers.
Then you had some beers and you went to get some more liquor for both you and Mr. Bob over here, who was passed out on the sofa. And you meet the young lady outside of Walgreens who wants to hang with you. And you take her up to the apartment with Bob passed out on the couch. So far, am I getting this picture right?
Well, Bob was actually asleep, you know.
He was in a deep sleep. Is that right, Bob?
No, it isn't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There was no reason for him to be alarmed by him seeing me going there into Bob's.
With the lady who had just urinated on the stairwell.
That's not true.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke. Yes, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Major Castleberry is suing apartment manager Zachary Thomas for assault. Zachary says Major may have been committing a crime and he wanted to hold him for the police.
This young lady, why did you bring her up to Bob's house?
Actually, it was actually, I don't know, no premeditated anything of that matter. It was no harm, no law broken. You know, I told her, yeah, sure, you can come on, and we just conversating, just talking. And also, Your Honor, it's people trying to make a mockery out of this situation. Yet and still, what happened to me basically shouldn't have happened at all. You know?
I absolutely agree with you,
yes,
sir.
Yes, ma'am. So that's the bottom line.
I absolutely agree that it shouldn't have happened
Definitely.
to you.
Right.
He was trying to make sure that his tenant was safe because you have had no prior problems with this man.
Never. And Zachary
Just a second. You've had no prior problems with this man.
Never.
But he was concerned for the following reason. He was concerned because you were bringing a woman up to Bob's apartment, a woman who he had seen, and I absolutely believe him when he says that she was urinating in the hallway.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely believe it. Okay? Because, quite frankly, sir, I think that you may tell me that you were not intoxicated that evening, but I think that you and Bob had done a little drinking, if that's all you were doing. If that's all you were doing. So that you weren't in complete control of what was going on. Now, he may not have acted 100% appropriately. You understand that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
But he says that you hit him first.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Well, he says that you hit him first, but then again, he was pinning you against a wall, a partition.
A partition wall.
A partition. So he put his hands on you, and I don't think he had any right to do that. I don't think he had any right to put his hands on you because what he came in and saw was two guys who were semi-inebriated, and according to him, with a naked woman in the apartment. Something that I would not necessarily encourage, but which is not a crime.
It's not true.
Listen, Mr. Castleberry, this whole scenario that evening doesn't sound totally kosher to me. You know what that means? Totally right. Because I don't know what you're bringing some lady that you just met off the street, whether it's at 10 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the morning, up to this man's house for. What do you don't know anything about her. You know? You're pretty well sauced, he's pretty well sauced. Everybody's sauced, and you bring a stranger up to the house that can clean him out and go into the bedroom where his 92-year-old mother is sleeping and slit her throat. No. You know, I mean, all that is possible. This is somebody that you didn't know.
May I actually say something,
Yeah,
Your Honor?
sure.
Thank you very much. Actually, Your Honor, none of this, Zach have known me since 1985. I've never been in jail, never been in no trouble, or nothing of that matter, period. And he know that, hey, there was no reason for him to be alarmed by him seeing me going there into Bob's.
With the lady who had just urinated on the stairwell.
That's not true.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke. Yes, ma'am.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The reason I put my hands on him, because he put his hands on me first, shoving me out the apartment.
You had no business being in the apartment after you saw that he was in the apartment still breathing.
Okay.
Except that this woman, but the woman, according to you, was outside, right? At the time when this took place, the woman was outside the apartment, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I mean, I understand your concern, Mr. Thomas.
And there was an arrest there at the same time.
A what?
The police did arrest the woman.
For what?
For being intoxicated, wouldn't shut up, and wouldn't listen to reason. The police handcuffed her and took her to jail.
Interesting. They took her away in handcuffs?
He's lying.
No, he's not.
All right. Okay, doke.
No, he's not.
All right.
He's not lying. Mr. Castleberry, you
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
use better judgment, sir, if you have better judgment, because if this man gives you access to his apartment, you have to exercise better judgment about who you permit into the apartment. Now, you're suing him for $4,000, Mr. Thomas. No way. No way. And I do believe that you did, in fact, hit him before he hit you. I also believe however, that Mr. Thomas, sir, overreacted in the situation by not leaving the apartment once you saw that he was okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you're both a little bit wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, it says here that you had a little bit of a knot on your head, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's what it says.
That's what it says. So I have some other questions for you. Are you employed, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Who do you work for?
I'm a government painter.
A what?
A government painter.
So you work full-time for the government or part-time?
Full-time.
Did you miss any work?
Just
over here, sir.
Just the days that I had to go, and I consulted an attorney, and I also went to the doctor.
It's not what I'm asking you, sir. After this incident,
Yes,
not the
I
days
did.
you took off to go to see a lawyer, or not the days that you took off after you consulted with the lawyer to go to a doctor. Because that's about what happened, right? First you went to see a lawyer, and then the lawyer sent you to a doctor, correct?
That is correct.
See how smart I am? See, if you're really hurt, you go to the doctor before you go to the lawyer. That's what happens when you're really hurt.
Okay.
When you're not really hurt, first you go to the lawyer, and then the lawyer sends you to a doctor.
May I say something, please?
Right to me, Judge.
So, Mr. Castleberry, I am awarding you damages, sir, in the amount of $1. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
This guy straight up lied, and he knows he's lying. So, you know, that's with him and God. If I would have hit him first, I'd have hurt him. Okay, he would have had some sort of, report from a doctor or some sort of injury. You see what I'm saying?
Curley for assaulting the Cunninghams' 14-year-old son, Stephen. Scott says the Cunningham sons were speeding through his neighborhood.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 425 on the calendar in the matter of Cunningham versus Curley. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have
All
seats,
right,
please.
there look like a lot of people here, so let me see, based upon these papers that I have, whether I can figure out the cast that I have before me. You must be Mr. and Mrs. Cunningham.
Yes.
And these are your two sons.
Yes.
Correct.
And they have a white blazer.
Chris does. Yes.
That's you. And you, sir, are Mr. Curley.
Yes, ma'am.
And you and your family,
Yes, ma'am.
live in a nice, quiet neighborhood, nice, quiet cul-de-sac in that neighborhood, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say that there is this white blazer that speeds into your cul-de-sac, driving erratically.
Consecutively. I have a statement from...
Is that right so far?
Yes, ma'am.
You allege, I assume you weren't there.
Right.
Chris was there.
Yes.
Little brother was there.
Yes.
That this gentleman assaulted the younger of your children.
Yes.
You weren't there.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
So why don't you exchange places with your children?
Thank you.
Who was doing the driving?
I was.
And when did this happen?
This summer sometime. I don't remember the date.
February.
It was February 23rd. Okay.
Well, that's close to the summer, February
Yeah.
23rd. Why don't you tell me what happened on this summer day in February?
Well, my friend had been sick for a while, and I was going down to see him. And we got there, and he wasn't there. So me and my brother were going back home down the road, and Mr. Curley over here came walking down his driveway pointing at my truck. So I came to a stop, and he started yelling at me, cussing at me, challenged me to fight. Told him I didn't want to fight him, you know, just leave me alone. He got in front of my truck, wouldn't let me leave, so I got out. We argued some more. He wanted to fight. I didn't want to fight. I told him to grow up. I put my hands up like this, walked back over to my truck, got in. He walked over to the passenger side, continued to challenge me, want to fight me, call me names, curse at me. I started to drive away, and as I pulled off, I heard a loud thud noise. And I looked to my right, and my brother was bent over holding his face, and I said, "Did he hit you?" And he said, "Yes." So I got out, I walked up to him, and I was angry at this point, and I yelled at him, and I said, "Did you hit my brother?" And he said, "Yes, I hit your effing little brother." And at this point, he pushed me, and then a neighbor intervened and grabbed me and took me back to my truck, and then I left.
Now you tell me what happened.
Just like my brother said, we were
could you look over here, please?
Just like my brother said, we were driving to his friend's house. We realized he wasn't there, so we were driving back home, and we noticed that Curly was pointing at my brother's truck, and my brother stopped because he figured there was a problem with his truck or something. And Curly came up to the passenger window, cursing at my brother, saying that he was going to rip his head off. Then he came to the front of the truck, and my brother got out of the truck, and they were arguing some more. And my brother, like he said, just told him to grow up, and got back in the truck. And he came back to the passenger window, started cussing some more. I said nothing to him. I didn't even look at him. He just hit me, blindsided me. I didn't even expect it at all.
And you were injured.
How was I injured?
And you were injured.
Oh, yes, I was injured.
Tell me about your injury.
He hit me so hard that my head was snapped back, and I couldn't play basketball for a week. We had a tournament that week, and I could not play. I could not do PE for a week because of my neck injuries. I had a mark on my nose, and my cheek was swelled. I missed a day of school to get x-rays on my neck, and that's about it.
And I assume, Mrs. Cunningham, that in your folder you have the medical reports?
Yes.
Okay. I would like you to turn them over to Mike Bailiff, please. All right, Mr. Curley. Now I'm going to hear your version of these events, sir.
Okay. Pretty much everything he said was true up to the point where the confrontation started and he was saying grow up. We've had excessive speed up and down this street. Besides him, all of his friends, but he was the main one.
Don't tell me his friends.
Okay,
Just
he
tell
was
me
the
him.
main problem. He's got a boombox in his system. He was in his car, which is fine. But constantly, the windows are up, blasting music up and down, speeding up and down the streets. My son and all his friends ride up and down the street on their bikes and stuff. The reason I had gotten so tired of it is because he had come around the corner one time and almost hit my son and his friend out there on the street because he just excessive speed coming around the corner. It's a cul-de-sac. It's a small street. Police have been notified several times. Excuse me, several times. But because it's a misdemeanor, they said that the only way they could do anything is if it was happened in their presence. The only thing they could do.
Just a second. Would you tell him to take his hands out?
Yes, Judge. Remove your hands from your pockets, please.
Well, the day that this all happened, he came flying up the street just like usual. My dad and everybody had told him to slow down. So all it is, with the gestures toward the adults around there, is flipping them off as he drives by. And I have statements in here proving.
So tell me what you did. He came flying around the corner, and what happened?
I came outside, and I did. I stopped him. I stopped the vehicle. I told him, slow it down. I said, there's kids in here. I said, all it takes is just a little bit of not paying attention, and you kill one of these kids, and then you're going to seriously pay the consequences. I did say that. Now, whether that was taken as a threat or not, that's fine. But when it comes down to my child being in danger,
It's not a threat.
Then that's the way it's going to happen.
It's not a threat. So far, you were very reserved. What happened next?
We got into a verbal confrontation. He steps out of his car. He said a few expletives. Get back in the house, old man. Because I hadn't shaven in a while. I was all scraggly. I was relaxing. I didn't, you know, it was a verbal confrontation.
Okay.
I didn't, you know, I didn't pull any punches.
You were mad.
I was verbal on my own because I was tired of having to worry about my son going outside, having him stay up on the sidewalk or up in our driveway because of these kids flying up and down the street.
Now tell me about hitting the car, sir.
I struck the car. As he drove off, I hit the side of the car.
Which side of the car, sir?
The passenger side. I struck the passenger side as they drove off.
But according to you, while you struck the passenger side of the car, you didn't strike him.
No, I didn't touch him.
Mm-hmm.
That would make me impossible losing my license.
Well, so striking the car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The only difference is with a gun, you can usually only kill one person if you make a mistake, right? With a car, you can plow down 4 of his friends.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Christopher Cunningham and his brother, 14-year-old Stephen, say Scott Curley assaulted Stephen. Scott says he wants them to stop speeding through his neighborhood.
Who else has witnessed this white Blazer driving up and down?
We all have.
Let's start with you.
Well,
come on up here.
Corey.
Tell me your name.
Corey. Curly.
Corey, how old are you?
9.
You know what it means to tell the truth?
Don't lie.
Do you know why it's more important to tell the truth in court than anywhere else?
Yeah, because you can go to jail for lying.
I think you're a pretty smart kid. So why don't you tell me what happened with this white Blazer?
Well, Big Chris, when he was coming up and down the street, and when I got home, which my grandma let me go out and play with my friend Cody so we can play a little game of baseball with a little, like a McDonald's ball that they have at McDonald's. Well, we went out there and played some baseball, and then Big Chris came around the corner.
That's this young man here?
My
That's Big Chris?
license plate.
Shh, shh. Big Chris is on the license plate of the car?
Yes.
So Big Chris came around the corner.
Yeah. And when he came around the corner, I told Cody to watch out because he was hit. It was his turn to hit. Now it's pitching. And there were some other kids, and we didn't hear them say, watch out. And they were all, so we didn't know. But I said, Cody, watch out. And he just came around the corner.
Well, was he coming around the corner fast or slowly?
Well, he came around the corner fast, and he started to speed up a little bit.
How many times have you seen this car on your street?
I've seen it bunches of times.
You have a boyfriend or a girlfriend on that street?
It's one of my best friends. It's a guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you been asked to slow down before on that street?
I never was confronted by anybody.
You have not?
I have not ever been confronted by anybody. The first time I was confronted is when he hit my little brother.
So you're telling me, Big Chris, that there's nothing wrong with the way you drive down that street?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Then what are you saying? I'd like to hear how you drive down these people's street.
Yeah, I may have sped a little bit, yeah. I could have.
Uh-huh. And when you're speeding down this street, you're also blasting your boombox?
I don't know about blasting it, but I have my stereo on, yeah.
Loud?
Pretty loud.
Uh-huh.
Not anymore, though.
How old are you?
17.
How long have you been driving?
A year.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever dock him from driving his car?
His driving, any problems whatsoever with his driving was never brought to my attention.
I know, okay.
So I had no way of knowing there was a problem on this street until my son was attacked that day.
Miss Cunningham, you can understand the frustration because you don't have to be a genius to figure out what's going on here. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out.
Right, I've driven down the street myself.
Okay. So you can understand why the people who live on that street have become frustrated with not only your son, but with other people. They have not been able to enjoy their property and let their children play out safely on their property because your 17-year-old son is acting like a moron. Right?
Well, I think he was acting like a normal 16-year-old driver. And I think the person who was not acting like a normal person was Mr. Curley. I have a police report with a witness statement.
You have a what?
A police report from the day of the incident.
Well, I'll see a police report, but I don't take witnesses' statements unless the witnesses are here.
The witness statement is in the police report.
And I'm not interested in it. I'm prepared to hear witnesses here. And Mr. Curley, I'm prepared to tell you that after I examine these hospital records, I probably am prepared to tell you, sir, that when you went to hit the truck, your hand probably slipped.
It hit the back of the truck, ma'am. That's what the High Patrol was told too. I would like to say that every person on our block, except for one family, signed this, stating the fact that he has been driving recklessly, dangerously around the children. This is every family on the block.
Did you send it to the parents?
Yes, it was.
A month after.
A month after.
1 month
So
after.
are you telling me, sir, that after this incident, that it continued?
Yes.
No.
Are you telling me that after this incident, it continued?
Yes. I've got the statement right here.
No, I can't. I'm not going to see a statement. I'm going to listen to your son.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think it was kind of unfair to be called an idiot just because I made a mistake, and I realized that, and I have calmed down a lot since that incident.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. The Cunninghams are suing Scott Curley for assaulting their 14-year-old son, Stephen.
After this incident, did you see Big Chris back on the block?
Um,
Well, you don't remember. You can tell me I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay. I just want to take a look at the police report for the date, please. So would you get that from her?
I also have a criminal case docket record stating that he was arrested for this, spent 2 days in jail. He's on probation for 3 years.
No, ma'am.
Ordered to stay away from my son.
Let me say it.
I served no time in jail.
Well, that's what this report
Curley,
says.
just want to read it.
Also, he mentioned that this happened when his son came home from school. It was a Sunday that it happened.
Sir, you pled guilty, is that correct, on this
Yes,
assault charge?
no contest, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to go through court.
Well, Mr. Curley, plea of no contest is plea of guilty. Your attorney, I'm sure, explained that to you. It's no different from if you were tried and found guilty by a jury. Do you understand that?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
That was explained to you. Now, I do have a problem, however, Mrs. Cunningham, with something that you said to me. I don't think that you can excuse a 16 or 17-year-old who's driving recklessly by saying he's just behaving like a normal teenager. That's outrageous.
No,
that suggests to me, madam, that all of our little children out there who are playing peacefully in their homes and their streets, well, they have to watch out for these normal teenagers who are acting like fools behind the wheel of a big sport truck.
The instant I found out about the problem, we resolved that problem.
How did you resolve it?
I taught him in his driver's training when I drove with him that he should be doing nothing but rolling down a residential area, ready to brake.
Well, I'll tell you what I would have done with him if he was my child.
I told him that he should not be blasting his stereo, turning it up loudly in any way that annoys our neighbors.
You're absolutely right. That's a good thing to tell him.
That's how I resolved the problem.
That's a good thing to tell him.
When it was brought to my attention.
Let me tell you something. If he were my child, he wouldn't drive a car again till he was 18 years old.
The police were called and we
Now listen to me. I don't care whether the police were called. You know, what you're saying to me is, I told him that if he was going to have a gun, that he had to make sure that he kept it secure at all times, that he kept the safety lock on it at all times, because it could be very dangerous if it were not handled properly. And then you turn this gun over to a 16-year-old idiot, right? That's what a car is. It's no different from a gun. The only difference is with a gun, you can usually only kill one person if you make a mistake. right? With a car, you can plow down 4 of his friends, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What were your out-of-pocket medical expenses?
$10.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Curley.
Yes, ma'am.
Pled guilty to this assault. This young man was injured. That's not something that you can do, sir. You were frustrated, you were angry, but you cannot, under any circumstances, behave in this kind of a fashion. That's, first of all, it's a very poor thing for your children to witness.
Oh, I totally agree.
Okay. So you're going to have to pay the price for that. Now, the Cunninghams are suing for about... How old are you, by the way?
14.
You don't drive, do you?
No.
See, the problem is, if you were going to take a punch, Mr. Curley, you hit the wrong one. Because he wasn't doing anything.
I agree. That's why he didn't get hit.
Okay. He wasn't doing anything. He was a passenger. He may have been a foolish passenger, but he was a passenger. Suing for $5,000. And I'm going to give you $2,500 plus $10 for your medical costs. You suffered injury because of 2 people. Because of Mr. Curley and because of your dumb brother. You got it?
Yes.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Paperwork, ma'am. Uh-huh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think it was kind of unfair to be called an idiot just because I made a mistake, and I realized that, and I have calmed down a lot since that incident.
I was upset. My initial reaction was to charge down there and do the same thing he did to my children, punch them in the face.
Along with many other family members.
But I do have a responsibility to show my children the proper way to handle situations.
The birth mother, 36-year-old Debbie Kay, changed her mind and took her daughter back. The Tothpals say they were heartbroken and devastated after losing the child they grew to love as their own. They're suing to recoup adoption costs from Debbie Kay and her boyfriend, Phil Francis.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 311 on the calendar in the matter of Tothpal versus Kay Francis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Tothpal, I've read your complaint, and I am most sympathetic because, as an old family court judge, this is not the first time that I've seen a failed adoption. According to your papers, you and your husband wished to adopt a child, and you were put in touch with the defendants, who, for reasons which I'm sure they will tell me, were prepared to relinquish the baby that the defendant was carrying to you, and you agreed to pay certain of her expenses for the last trimester of her pregnancy. So far, is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that correct? You did, in fact, make those payments. They were $1,500 a month to cover your expenses, medical bills, rent, whatever, during the course of the last trimester. And then the baby was born, a little girl, I believe, correct?
Right.
So you want to tell me what happened?
Well, we had entered into an adoption plan, as you've said. She was born. We were present at the birth. I was present at the birth with my mother. I assisted in the birth. And
in the delivery room?
In the delivery room, yes. The next day, we came back to pick up the baby to take her home. We met with the social workers, and they agreed to sign a placement agreement, which they signed. We took the baby home, and we had her in our home for 7 weeks. We have 2 children of our own. We're very grateful that we have them. We feel very fortunate.
How old are they?
9 and 7. We bonded with the baby for 7 weeks.
Had you been trying to have a 3rd child?
No. 5 years ago, I had uterine cancer and a hysterectomy, so I'm no longer able to have any more children. But we wanted to open our home up again to another child. We had always wanted to have more children, and this was just something we wanted to do. And which is why we chose adoption. We originally got involved in a surrogate program, but just got discouraged due to the success rate, and also because I had a lot of chemotherapy. We didn't know the effect of the medication on my body, so we decided to adopt instead. And we, anyway, we had her for 7 weeks, and then they took her back. They took our baby back. I have photographs to show you. We bonded with her, we had her, and we were very devastated.
When did you know that there was difficulty?
We didn't know until she was born August 11th. We didn't know until mid-September.
What happened in mid-September?
We had a call from our attorney handling the adoption that apparently Debbie had sent them a letter stating that she was interested in possibly getting the baby back, but didn't say in so many words that she wanted the baby back. Basically beat around the bush. And he told us about this letter. We have never seen a copy of the letter. That was mid-September, and on September 30th, the morning of September 30th, I needed to bring her back.
How did that come about?
Well, there was a lot of talk for the tail end of the last 2 weeks of September. Phone conversations I was having between the social worker who was handling our case, phone conversations between myself and the attorney. She never really came out and told anybody she wanted the baby back. She never called me until the end of September, the 29th of September, was when I received a personal call from the birth mother stating that she wanted her back. And she said to me that she would like to meet me at a location, and she was going to call the attorney's office and let them know, make them aware of the fact that this is what was going to be happening. I was completely devastated. I was breaking down on the telephone. This wasn't, I mean, we had bonded with this baby. We had grown to love her. Our children had grown to love her. It wasn't as if she changed her mind, you know, the day that she was born. This baby was becoming attached to us. She was developing a personality. We were bonding with her.
There were some legal documents that had to be signed after the placement agreement, because that's what usually happens.
Right.
And that's what we call a surrender document. You're familiar with that?
The only papers they told me that I needed to sign if I wanted to was to waive my rights for the 90 days.
That's what I'm talking about. And you did not sign those.
Right.
Am I correct?
Is this the waiver? You're talking about the waiver?
I'm talking
Yes.
about the waiver.
Right. No, I never signed those.
But you were asked to sign the waiver.
I was asked to sign those many times.
Many times. Well, we'll get to that in a moment.
She had also agreed to sign it in the hospital.
Are you two married?
No.
No, Your Honor.
But you live together?
Right.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you been living together?
5 years.
Yeah.
We have a 4-year-old together.
And how many other children do you have?
We have 4, besides the baby. We have 5.
And what made you decide that you thought it was in the child's best interest, since I assumed that that was your motivation, to place this child for adoption?
Neither one of us was working at the time, Your Honor.
We were just having a really bad time, and we neither one had a job, and
We just thought it would be the best for the baby.
because we couldn't provide really well for our own children and this one, and it was just very, you know, hard.
It was
a very
difficult
hard
decision.
decision. It wasn't something that was easy. It was heartbreaking. It was very hard.
I'm sure it was. But you decided to do it.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
2 days after the baby was born, we received a call from our attorney's office stating that they wanted $720 in lieu of an epidural so they could take their other children to Disneyland.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Heartbroken parents, Jennifer and Peter Tothpaul, are suing Debbie Kay, the birth mother of the baby they adopted. The Tothpauls say 7 weeks after they took the newborn home, Debbie and her boyfriend Phil changed their minds and demanded their child back. They're suing to recoup adoption costs.
So let's get to the reason you changed your mind and when you did.
There was just many reasons. There was many reasons because, well, one reason is because I wanted her. You know, it was devastating for me to give her up. You know, when your baby's born, you cry because you're happy. I cried because I was just
I cried because I had to give her away.
Right, and it was very hard. And
when, for the first time, did you make the decision that you were going to ask for her back?
It was about a month later. I had...
When? She was born in?
August.
August? And when did you decide to ask, when in your mind did you say, I'm going to ask for her back?
I can't tell you an exact date. I mean, I was going through so much, you know, it's just, in September. I had talked to the agency weeks before, and they never told them anything.
That's
you know,
because
I kept
you told
calling.
them not to tell us.
I did not tell
No,
them.
no, don't talk to each other.
I had talked to the social worker.
Did you have misgivings right after the baby was born in August about whether you were going to go through with this adoption?
No.
Was it a week later? Was it 2 weeks later?
It was about, I don't know, 4 weeks later. There was a lot of things that led up to it, you know, is that we had to go through so many things.
Like what?
Like, we sent all our kids away because we kept it a secret. And that was very, very emotional because I kept hidden. I didn't tell very many people. And just different things. It was just really hard. And they had told us things that, like, he wasn't even present for the birth. And I felt like, you know, she wasn't as important as their own children.
That's not the reason, Debbie, that you changed your mind.
No, that's not the only reason. It was just different things. I was just unsure about what was going on. And I felt, when I talked to everybody at the agencies and the lawyers and everything, they made me feel like I was, you know, less important, or I just felt less significant, you know, and it wasn't as important for them to send me the papers. They made me feel like I was selling her. And that wasn't my intentions at all.
When for the first time were you asked to sign the waiver? In the hospital?
Yes.
And you decided not to sign the waiver in the hospital. Can you tell me why? He did.
No, there was something was said like we were going to go out a couple weeks later for lunch or something and sign this paper, this waiver.
You mean you weren't asked to sign the waiver in the hospital?
Yeah, we were.
Sure you were.
Yeah, and we declined it then.
Right. My question to you is, why did you say no, sir, in the hospital?
In case she wanted to get the baby back, because I was fully supporting her in whatever she wanted to do.
So even in the hospital, you weren't sure that you were going to go through with this adoption. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not telling you that at all.
But what you just said to me suggests that that was true, because if at that moment of the child's birth you were totally committed to this adoption, then you would have signed the waiver at the time. Don't speak to him. I understand that you can have a change of heart. My point is, these people are suing for nothing else other than, at this point, $4,500, which is what they gave to you in support for the 3 months that they agreed to. I mean, they can't be compensated for their heartbreak. That doesn't necessarily make you the bad guys, because you're entitled to have a change of heart. That's what the law provides. But my question is, when was the point in time when you had this change of heart? If you were committed to the adoption without reservation, you would have signed the waiver in the hospital at the time that they took the baby home.
We couldn't. We had to do it after. We had to go to this in LA somewhere. That's what we were told.
Because he wasn't there to sign something.
He doesn't have to be there to sign. You have to be there to sign. The waiver is something you have to do.
But they told me I could not sign this in the hospital.
They asked you to do it immediately thereafter, and you put them off.
No, I was going to do it. I had told them I would. And you know that I told them I would.
You never did it. Did you go away on vacation?
I was going to go away, and I never was able to go.
But you told them you were going away on vacation.
Right.
Whether you went or not, you said you couldn't sign the papers. You'll sign them when you come home from vacation, correct?
Right.
So that's
They called me 3 days after the baby was born. They called me 3 days. I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't want to deal with it. You know, it was...
Debbie, I'm not faulting you
them.
for changing your mind, Debbie. I want you to understand that. The law builds that in. But if what you're telling me is 3 days after the baby was born, when the baby is already with the new parents, you're called and said, would you come in so we can sign the papers.
That's not what they didn't call me to say that. They just called me to tell me that he hadn't signed his part of the papers yet, and just to let me know what was going on. That was the only time I ever heard from anybody.
No, that's not true. You knew you had to sign the waiver. Come on, Debbie.
That's not what they said, but they weren't telling me to do it then.
You knew you had to sign the waiver, and you kept putting it off.
And we had 90 days to do it.
They didn't tell me I had to sign it.
I know you had 90 days to do it, sir. I mean, are we understanding each other?
Yeah, totally. I'm not disputing anything. I'm just saying.
You had 90 days. Of course you have 90 days to do it. The idea is if you're committed to doing it,
right,
then you do it at the earliest possible time, right? And you two folks didn't do that because you had misgivings as to whether you were absolutely positive that you wanted to do it. Is that true?
No.
I don't
it's not.
believe you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that because otherwise you would have done it. And the bottom line is, you did in fact say, I'm not signing the papers, I want the baby back. I'm not faulting you for wanting your baby back. I'm faulting you for taking their payments in September.
And you know,
I'm faulting you for that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know what? She sent her sister to pick up the baby.
I had just started a brand new job. I couldn't just leave.
Talking about your daughter.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer and Peter Tothpaul are suing Debbie Kay, the birth mother of their adopted baby, after she demanded they return her child. The heartbroken Tothpauls are suing to recover the cost of the adoption.
You took the money in September, even though you had misgivings. That's not fair, because that also says to them, everything is going the way it should be going. We can fall in love with this baby. That's not fair. And what I'm suggesting to you is, they're not the bad guys here. You're not bad either. But you didn't play it 100% straight with them. And it's a shame.
You know, when I talked to her, and I hadn't even made up my mind then, she was very, very mean. She says, I am not a babysitter, and I'm going to call Child Protection Services.
Well, for
once. And I hadn't even said anything yet.
Sure,
and after she said, do you want to come to my house and see our home and everything, and I agreed. But that kept going through my mind. How could she be so mean? She's going to call the Child Protection Service on this baby. Well, she's hurting the baby. And then when we did change our mind, and they made it very, very hard for us to get the baby.
You would too. If the circumstances were different, Debbie, you would too.
No. She dropped her off. She didn't even tell me what kind of formula she was drinking. She dropped her off in just a diaper and a T-shirt, which, you know what? I didn't even know what kind of formula she was drinking.
Why didn't you ask?
She wasn't there.
Just why didn't you ask the social worker?
The social worker wasn't there either. The social worker was on vacation. The lawyer was the one that was giving us a hard time. He wouldn't even let the father pick her up. He's the one that told us they were going to call child. They made us feel like we were evil, and it was
in
nothing.
In their minds, Debbie, you were evil. First, they hear that you're unable to take care of this infant because you have too many other kids that have to be taken care of. You have no jobs. You have no way of supporting this baby. And so that two people, the two of you, who look like two able-bodied people, had to accept $4,500, $1,500 a month to pay your rent and your food and whatever other expenses you had just to keep you for the last trimester of this baby's birth. And then, after 7 weeks, you say, well, now I want her back. Were you both working? Were you both working at the time you got her back?
I had just started working.
When you got her back. So who was going to take care of the baby?
I had a babysitter.
You know what? She sent her sister to pick up the baby.
That's right, because I just started working.
At work.
I had just started a brand new job. I couldn't just leave.
Talking about your daughter.
And we'd already agreed on this the night before. And she knew the whole situation.
She doesn't know the whole situation, Debbie. You just
no. I told her that
you're not being fair. You can't say that these folks did anything wrong.
I didn't say they were doing anything wrong.
Okay.
Can I mention something else?
Sure.
In lieu of receiving an epidural in the hospital, they wanted money in exchange for that.
But I didn't come up with that.
Please don't speak.
They wanted money in exchange for that. That didn't come from us. we wouldn't make such a suggestion. I told her I wanted her to be comfortable, and we would talk about that after the fact. 2 days after the baby was born, we received a call from our attorney's office stating that they wanted $720 in lieu of an epidural so they could take their other children to Disneyland in San Diego.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know you're heartbroken. Fortunately for you, you can be heartbroken and look at your 2 kids when you go home.
Right.
You know that.
I'm very grateful for my children. I'm
I'm
very
sure
fortunate.
I'm sure you know other people who have been through the adoption process and the adoptions have failed that don't have the 2 gifts that you do at home
That's
to go home
right.
and look at. It doesn't make it any easier. Tough lesson, but you understand how hurt they are. All right, the issue is not a difficult one, especially since I believe that you understand it is your moral responsibility to return this money. You had an agreement with the plaintiffs that that they would, in fact, take care of you for 3 months of your pregnancy, and you would allow them to adopt your baby. You did not allow them to adopt your baby, and therefore, they're entitled to their money back. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Once you have it, you know, it's different, and then it just keeps stewing. You keep thinking about it over and over and over, day after day after day. At least I did.
The way we feel or whatever went down today is really petty to the way we would have felt every day if we didn't get our kid back.
I was devastated that morning. You have no idea how devastated I was that morning.
I'm sure.
I barely made it to that office, barely. I was hysterical in that car driving her there. It's very heartbreaking to think that you've got to go 90 days and wait till day 90 or day 89, and then all of a sudden a decision has been made, and you need to give this baby back. We had bonded with this baby, and it was very devastating. We loved her dearly.
That claims in her countersuit she owes her money for a missing gold ring.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Davis. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
I'm going to try to make this rather complicated case as simple as I can. You are not related to each other, even though you have the same last name.
No.
You are neighbors.
Yes.
She borrowed your car.
Yes, she did.
And it was involved in some sort of a traffic accident, and it was damaged.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And you want her to pay for the damage to the car.
Yes, I do.
She says that while you were babysitting for her, jewelry was stolen from her house. So she's countersuing you for the jewelry. She said, therefore, she doesn't have to pay for the car. Is that this case?
Yes, it is.
So at least we have one thing that's a given. You damaged her car.
Yes.
Now, in what month, date and month, did you damage her car?
Um,
And you don't know this right off the top?
July 12th, Your Honor.
no, I don't.
July 12th is when you borrowed the car.
Yes.
How was it damaged? Tell me.
I was damaged on the on the driver's door.
And how did you do that?
I didn't do it. A car hit her car while I was parked.
So she says, Your Honor.
Whatever. You weren't there.
Right.
But it was damaged while it was in your control.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's not covered by insurance.
No, it's not.
Why did you let her borrow your car?
Because she asked me if she can borrow my car to go to the grocery store.
That's not true.
And I said, do you have a driver's license? And she said yes. And I let her drive my car. When she left, my car was a brand new car.
I understand that. She's acknowledging that the car was damaged while it was under her control. Did you have a driver's license?
No, I did not.
Why? Why did you use her car without having a driver's license?
She sent her daughter to come get me, to go to Lucky's, to go get some milk and cereal for her daughter because she was sick.
Your Honor.
I did her a favor.
Your Honor. She asked me to use my car. The first question I asked her, before I even answered her, was, do you have a driver's license?
That's not true.
She said yes.
Just a second. Did you have insurance?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, I had got the car in May, and I moved in June. I guess my insurance papers, from what the car dealership told me, went to my old address. Being that I didn't get them in time, they pinned it because I only had it a month after I got my car.
They're all, so far, you both sound very responsible. No insurance, no driver's license. It's a perfect match.
Okay.
All right. Now, when allegedly was this jewelry stolen and how? What month?
It was stolen August 23rd.
All right. 8/23. Now, between July 12th, when the car was damaged, and August 23rd, why didn't you pay her for the damage?
Because, for one thing, when after the accident had happened, okay, I came straight to Rolanda, and I said, Rolanda, someone had hit your car. We came out, we looked at the car. She said, Rhonda, don't worry about it. It's not that much damage. It could have happened to me if I'd have had your car. She said, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Come on now.
Shh.
All right.
And so that was it, okay? August 23rd was my birthday. We needed a babysitter.
Just a minute. So are you telling me that between July 12th, when our car was damaged, and August 23rd, there was no other discussion about paying for the car?
None. None.
Okay. You say there was?
Yes, there was.
When was there?
When she came back, when she pulled back into the parking lot, and I came outside and seen my car, and I'm just shaking my head, and she was like, Rolanda, I'm going to help you fix your car. She said she's been knowing people who can fix my car, Your Honor. She said she's been knowing people, and I'll come to her door, I'll ask for some time. I'll be like, have you talked to someone?
No,
and she'll be like, yeah, I know somebody who will fix the car.
Okay.
You know, and then she got mad one night and was like, I'm not going to fix your car.
Who are you?
I'm her witness and roommate. We live together. When she was at the store, I was at Rolanda's house sitting, waiting for her because the store is not very far from where we stay at. Okay, when she came back, all three of us walked out where the car is parked at in front of our apartment building, and we looked at the car. You know, I was looking like, where's the dent, you know? And it was very small, like maybe if someone opened their door and maybe hit the car or something like that, that's what it looked like. To me, it wasn't major
I'm
at
going
all.
to see pictures of it. I assume the pictures are
It
here.
wasn't
Yes,
major
I do
at all.
have my pictures to prove that they're not little itty bitty dents.
I have pictures
I have
too.
some I have some damages that.
Just a shut.
Okay.
That's certainly not an itty bitty dent.
No, and that wasn't the dent that was in that car. Neither. Her car had been hit 3 times since that accident.
Well, when did you take pictures of it?
Maybe about 2 weeks ago when I knew that she was following this.
Just a second. 2 weeks ago this happened? 3
July
months
the
ago?
12th, Your Honor.
Yes, but
My case
I didn't know she was going to file no suit against me or anything like this.
When were these pictures taken?
Those pictures were taken 3 days ago.
3 days ago?
3 days ago.
Not interested in these pictures?
Well,
I
have
want to
an
see the estimate.
Okay. I have
right
an estimate,
after
Your
July
Honor.
12th.
I have an estimate, Your Honor, proving how much my driver's door does not open. My window is broken.
That window was in that car.
It has been rain, and my car, the door, it's rain, it's mildew stains inside of my car.
Your husband
Just a
broke
minute.
the window.
Hey! This damage report is 2.5 months after this incident.
Yes. Okay. Your Honor, I'm telling the guys all the truth. She damaged my car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You copped an attitude, which I have a feeling you can do very easily, and you said, I'm not doing that.
And later today,
Whoever made the decision that this was not going to be a long-term relationship, whether it was you or whether it was him, whoever it was, you're very lucky.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rolanda Davis says after she loaned her car to her neighbor, 36-year-old Rhonda Davis, she returned it with extensive damage. Rhonda admits the car was wrecked, but says Rolanda stole a gold ring from her home, making them even.
She acknowledges she damaged your car. You do not have an estimate within a day, or two, a week after the accident.
Right.
$1,500 is practically what they charge just to look at a car. One of these car doctors,
Thank
you know,
you.
they come out in a
Thank
white
you.
coat and they look at it, you know, the looking costs $1,500. So we're not talking about a lot of money. The damage that you caused to the car was at least probably $1,500.
Yes.
If they have to pull it out, they have to repaint it, they have to buff it out. You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So $1,500 she's entitled to for the car. Now, you have to prove to me that she took your jewelry. Prove it.
Only way that I can prove it is that when we got ready to leave, okay, when I got to the club, okay, Jocelyn noticed that my jewelry was gone. What I did, I immediately got on the phone. I called Rolanda. I said, I dialed my number. Rolanda answered my phone. She said, hello. I said, Rolanda, this is Rhonda. First thing I said, how's the kids? She said, everything okay. I said, Rolanda, I left my rings on top of the TV. Can you please go get them for the kids won't mess with them? She said, okay. I said, I'm going to hold on until you do this, okay? I was holding on the phone. Whether Rolanda went in my room to check to see was the rings there or not, I was holding on. She came back to the phone. She said, okay, I got them. I said, okay, everything's okay? She said, yes. I hung up the phone. When I returned home, I say approximately maybe about 2:30, close to 2:45. Immediately as I walked in my door, I seen my table, the glass was broke, okay? Then Rolanda said, the window in the room is broke. I said, the room window. So I goes in the room and I pulls the curtain back. The whole window is busted out, okay? A family heirloom that I had from my grandmother that's passed, that was broke, okay? My rings was missing, all in one night.
Okay, what happened?
She called. And she did tell me that her ring was somewhere in her room. She did say that she would hold while I go in the room. I did not go in that room because I didn't want to be responsible for nothing coming up
Just
missing.
a second.
Okay.
Stop you right there.
All right.
She called. She said, I'll hold on.
Mm-hmm. I sat the phone down.
Just a second.
Okay.
She said, I'll hold on while you go inside and get my rings because I don't want the kids. That's what she said to you.
Right.
And you did what?
And I sat the phone down and sat there. I did not come back and reply to her, I got them.
Yes, you did.
Oh, sure you did.
Yes, you did. That's what the reason
sure you
was
did.
holding on.
Okay.
No, that's why I was, oh, excuse me.
No.
Excuse me.
Oh, sure you did.
She is lying. No, I did not. My mother is right here.
Let me tell you why you did. Let me tell you why you did. Because it doesn't make sense. It's not logical for you to have then walked back and said, I don't have the rings. I'm sorry. You put the phone down. You said, I'm going to wait a couple of minutes. You picked the phone up. You said, got him.
I didn't say got him.
What did you say?
I told her I was not going in her room because I wasn't going to be responsible.
No, you didn't.
That's what I said.
Oh, you did. Please,
I didn't
give me a
leave
break.
out that living room.
Give.
Your Honor,
You got
that
my
is
rings.
the truth. I didn't leave out the living room.
Oh, I believe it.
I stayed
How you
right
know the
next door
bedroom
to her.
window was
Listen
broke?
to me. Listen to me.
Okay.
Either way,
okay.
You're responsible. She's absolutely right. Either way, you're responsible. She called you.
That's what I
You were
did.
babysitting for her children. She said, I left my rings. Please go inside and secure them. Instead of doing that, you copped an attitude, which I have a feeling you can do very easily, and you said, I'm not doing that. You took the phone, put it down, waited a minute, picked it up and said, I got him.
That's what she did.
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Sure you did. Tell me what rings were missing.
This is the rings right here. I have the things from the rings and everything. They're not even finished paying for. Here's everything for the rings. It's the ones that's
a room at all.
That's
your problem.
Circled.
Then you lied.
Here's
No,
my
I didn't.
stuff.
Oh,
for
sure
my-
you did.
For my table.
Oh, sure
I
you
didn't-
did.
I got
How?
the window fixed, but not the table.
How,
but
Your
this
Honor?
is
How did you lie?
Yes.
You lied because you told her I got the rings.
No,
Here
I
we go,
didn't.
right
I
here.
Oh, I
never
believe you
told her
did.
that.
Listen, I may be wrong. I was wrong once in 1950. I don't remember what it was, but I'm sure I was wrong
And
once
this
in
day
1950.
too, Your Honor, because I didn't say that to her.
Be quiet.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
You are so full of baloney.
Am I?
You are so full of baloney. But you're a very quick thinker.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
This case is going to turn out to be a wash, you know. Because I believe that you should have paid for the car, for the damage to the car. I believe that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Miss Attitude over here decided that she was tired of asking you to pay for the car and made things sort of even. Your lawsuit is dismissed. Your countersuit is dismissed because they're just for about the same amount of money. The loss of the rings, the damage to her car, It's a wash.
With me.
That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
All right.
And now the next case.
Parties on Penda versus Crane. Step forward, please.
55-year-old engineering assistant Dee Pender says she bought a computer for 43-year-old Robert Crane while the two were dating. Robert claims he knows nothing about it.
While you and the defendant were dating, you claimed that you bought a computer for him, he agreed to pay you for the computer, stopped dating, and he hasn't paid you for the computer.
Right.
That's simple?
Right.
He says he doesn't know what you're talking about. You never bought him a computer. He doesn't know about a computer. Is that right?
Correct.
Interesting. So, how long were you dating before you bought him this computer, and tell me why you did in the first place?
Probably about 4 months I was dating him, and he was over that night, and we had talked about that I might get a computer. And I was on the phone, and he came in, and he says, "Oh, you're ordering a computer?" And I said, "Yeah." He says,
that's not right.
"Could, do you think I could get one too?" And I said, "Well, I'll ask." So I asked, and she said, "You can buy as many as you want."
Well, where were you ordering these from?
Through my company that I work for.
Were you getting a good deal on them?
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Yes, uh-huh.
Go ahead.
They offered them to the employees only. And she said, yes, I could get as many as I wanted. I said, okay. He says, well, put it on your charge for me, and I'll pay you back next month. Fact is, he says, I'll pay the whole bill off. And I went, shh, wait till I'm done. So I finished ordering 2 computers and got off the phone. He says, yeah, he says, I'll pay the whole bill off. Everything on your bill I'll pay off. Yours and mine and anything else that's on there. He said, I make plenty of money. He said, no problem. And I said, no, you pay what you owe me, I pay my own bills.
How much was the computer that you bought for him?
In the end, by the time we got the, everything on there was $1,943.55. That's what it finally came to.
Okay.
So he comes over and he says, I make $15,000 a month. Here's my check stub, I'll show you. And I looked and I went, whoa. And he says, yeah, I make plenty of money. Don't worry, I'll pay the whole thing. I said, no, just pay your bill. That's all I want. And so the bill came in, and he says, well, the next month, he says, I'm a little short of cash. Can I just make the payment this time? He said, actually, I'll pay it when my tax check comes in. He said, that'll be in the next week. And I said, okay. I said, you know, pay $100 on this. Okay. So
did he give you $100?
Yes. Yes, he paid me $100.
Well, let me ask you this question. Have the computers been delivered?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they were delivered the next month.
Did you talk to him about his computer?
Oh, yeah. He said, yeah, he liked it. He thought it was great.
What kind was it?
A Micron? Micron, I believe. Here it is right here.
Okay. And which credit card did you put it on?
My Citibank Visa.
Okay.
There's a little note here that he left tagged on my car after he moved out in the middle of the night. In his handwriting saying, I will pay you. He put this on my car. I put the date up there of the day he left it on my car.
Let me have it, please. Yes. I'm listening.
Yes, ma'am. As far as this computer, she'd called me and said she purchased a computer. And as far as another computer, I know nothing about it. I was very shocked on this lawsuit that she served me. I was very shocked. I was very shocked. And the thing I did, I finally had to move because all she did was call me every night. She wanted to pursue this relationship. Hey, I didn't want to hear anything else about it. So I finally had to move because we lived in the same complex. I did not need to hear any more of this from her.
If you can't be quiet, you have to leave. Do you understand?
So the only thing I can see is she's very distressed that she couldn't pursue this relationship.
So you think she bought these 2 computers that are clearly on her bill for somebody else, or maybe she just wanted 2 computers for herself?
Possibly. As far as that, the only thing I knew, she called me up, she said, oh, I bought a computer. Oh, you did? Okay, fine.
If there would be a copy of a check that you gave her for $100, what would that be for?
It would be for some stamps that I purchased from her for a mail order business that she was going into, that I paid her for.
You are so full of baloney.
Am I?
You are so full of baloney. But you're a very quick thinker.
I'm not full of
You're a very quick thinker. I don't have a check for $100, a copy of a check.
But still,
I just
that wasn't
wanted
for.
to
That
figure out,
wasn't
to
for.
see what your answer would be if you thought I had a copy of the check.
That's what it would have been for.
Oh, God. Must be smoking something real good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
$1,943.55 is what your Visa bill shows. Does very fancy footwork. Ms. Pender, you're very lucky that whoever made the decision that this was not going to be a long-term relationship, whether it was you or whether it was him, whoever it was, you're very lucky.
Yes.
Earth to Mr. Crane. You
Yes.
can't pull the wool over everybody's eyes all the time, sir.
I'm sorry.
What
I
were
didn't pull the wool.
what were the interest charges since this purchase was made? His interest charges, we're going to give him credit for the $100, even though he now says it's for stamps.
And also lost wages because same time he moved, his company moved. And it took me 2 days to find out where they were.
That you're going to, listen, you're going to chalk that up to experience.
Okay.
All I want to know is the interest. It's $320.
She had a business card all along.
2163, right?
She got there.
That's what I got there. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,163.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm the daughter, and I know the whole story. And I'll tell you, when you're born to lie and you do it well, you can get through life, and he is proof of that.
No. Yeah, they're